think we're up. I think we're live. We're going. So first, welcome to the podcast. Thanks for being here and all that good stuff.
Appreciate it.
What I know about you, you got a pretty interesting story that I kind of checked out on you. And that's kind of what I wanted to know a little bit about it. And I think it might resonate with a lot of people on here. But I guess first, maybe should you do a little brief introduction just so people kind of know? I don't like to do introductions, so I'll let you do it. So
yeah, I could do that. Well, thank you so much for having me, Chris. I'm really pumped to be here. Sure. Brief introduction. I'm Bri Tartaglione, born and raised in Rhode Island, made my way to Boston for a little bit, then landed in New York City after going to grad school here.
Nice.
Went to school to become a school counselor and really love being in the counseling field. Right now, I'm actually expanding that certificate to get my clinical mental health counseling license. And in the meantime, as that's all happening, I'm a podcaster as well. I'm a motivational speaker in the realm of personal development and mental health and wellness. And I have a small business as well. So it's kind of all inclusive of those things. I do some coaching in there as well. And yeah, just enjoying the ride as each layer sort of adds on to my life and the next steps in it.
So you got a lot going on here, it seems like, but what kind of led you down this road, do you think? I know you just talked about the mental health kind of road. Is that just something you've always wanted to do, or is it something part of your life, or what?
So actually, I had no idea what I wanted to do.
Oh, same.
Transparently, went to school as a communications major, which I guess really pairs with me wanting to speak. I've always wanted to speak for a living or even come on podcasts. Like, I think this is so cool, and podcasting I love to do too. So I love to be on both ends, but had no idea I wanted to go into mental health counseling or anything really of the sort. I found myself after I graduated undergrad working in a school with students who were in a learning center, basically a learning center where they didn't quote unquote fit in any of the other learning centers. So it was students of varied abilities. And I found in working with these students that one, they're awesome, and their unique way of thinking and seeing the world is a way that I wish we could all sort of orient ourselves to. Sure. But I also found that I wasn't particularly passionate about teaching a school subject, but I liked the idea of being in schools, but I really liked the social emotional piece. So that was really what prompted me down the school counseling path. And then the transition into the clinical mental health counseling was really after I had a really strange, unexpected personal medical experience that kind of shifted my life on its head and kind of transitioned me into rerouting into working with adults in that capacity based on what I experienced.
So I was hoping we could talk about that a little bit as far as that weird thing that happened. And from what I know, I mean, it seemed like it was an autoimmune kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And then it ended up paralyzing you from the waist down.
Yes. Yeah.
I mean, was there any signs of this coming up, or it just happened to, spur of the moment or whatever you want to say?
It really was. It really was spur of the moment. It was a 24-hour sort of my body just out of nowhere going into shutdown mode. I was 28 at the time. And it was the day before, it was March 17th, 2020. So as the world was shutting down, so too was my body. And it was the craziest thing because obviously, I can speak candidly about it now, but at the time I was so scared. It was this weird sort of numbing, tingling sensation that started in my feet, grew up my legs, and it also actually surrounded my whole face, head, and neck as well. This numbing, tingling sensation kind of turned into like a burning, knife-like sensation. I mean, it was horrible. And so I took myself to the emergency room. I don't know why I didn't call something. I was like, I can get there. So I got there. And I literally walked my hands along the triage desk and said, I think my legs are about to collapse beneath me. And no sooner than I said it, did it happen. From there, I was in the hospital for several weeks, completely paralyzed from the waist down and mostly paralyzed from the neck up. So I really only had mobility in my arms and hands. And at the time, doctors couldn't really give me any answers at all. It was really a guessing game for them and for me. I had to go through in my own head and with doctors the possibility of lifelong paralysis, the possibility of this increasing. So actually going through my arms as well, since it had already consumed a lot of my body, the possibility of amputation.
Oh my
So
gosh.
all of these, ruminating thoughts were, I had in my head, on top of the fact that very day, lucky for me, hospitals shut down in New York. So I couldn't have any visitors, anything. It was really just me, myself, and my thoughts at a pretty scary time. So I can keep going, but I'll kind of
No,
pause
you're
there.
fine. No,
in
I
suspense.
don't want to cut you off. You had a good flow going on there. So I guess my next question for you, I mean, so there was nothing in your family history of something like this happening. It was just whatever, something to decide to attack you and go after it.
Yeah. So what I really found out was that I have a very rare autoimmune condition that basically, I guess, is in conjunction with a neurological condition because my immune system essentially attacked my healthy cells rather than my unhealthy cells.
Sure.
And the condition specifically attacks the cells in my brain and in my spine. So when the doctors found out what this actually was, for them, it was miraculous that it was actually just my mobility and not my speech or cognition or one of my senses or a combination of all of them. So, that was sort of a major perspective shift when you think about if anything's going to attack your brain and your spine, really anything can happen. So, that was crazy enough for me to realize, like, how is this happening at 28 and no family history, nothing inherited. It's, just rare, and I'm the lucky one.
Damn. So, I've said on here probably, I don't know how many times I've said on here, but, I've always kind of talked about, walking your own path, and it's okay to be alone sometimes. But when you go to an event like that in your life, I mean, and like you said, you were alone and kind of by yourself, it's almost, you don't want to be alone then. And I couldn't imagine going through something like that, no visitors, you said it was during COVID too, right? When hospitals were shutting down. And, it's just got, nobody, when the pandemic started, nobody knew what was going on. When people were saying, oh, you need to be on a respirator or ventilator, but then they found out those didn't work.
Right.
And so I just couldn't imagine what you were going through right then, just because, I guess, being alone for so long and then something like that would just, I feel that would, just I don't want to say wreak havoc on your brain, but something to the sort,
Yeah. It's funny that you say that because being alone was definitely one of the scariest parts, that I couldn't have any visitors. But I will say that sort of those thoughts of being alone, they actually prompted me to open myself and my story up as it was happening on my social networks, which, at the time I was pretty open on social anyway, but I or anyone else was not expecting any of this, nor was it my typical content that I was posting. But it was really interesting because I found that in opening up on social media, I started documenting it and really going through it. And that was where I was able to get that support. So obviously I had my family and my friends calling me and FaceTiming me and doing whatever they could to be there, metaphorically. But I found that opening myself up in that way was actually really empowering and gave me a lot of strength and support that I really needed during that time. So it definitely helped switch things for me and helped me really feel that, uplifting energy that anyone who's in such a scary, weird situation would hope for.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes I feel like I trash technology and social media when I get on here, and I'm an addict like anybody else, but these outlets and just being able to have conversations like this through screens and stuff, it's one of the best times to be alive.
Right.
But and just like you were still able to get that moral support through technology. And I don't want to make this all about technology, but there is some benefits. I guess my point is there is some benefits to it, even though there is also a lot of negatives to it. Speaking of mental health and stuff, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's spot on. I feel the same with technology. Like it's such a love-hate relationship. Some, there's such power to it, but there's also, real negative aspects of social media, like you said, with mental health. But, when you can find the way to use technology that is supportive of you. And in that case, that's exactly what it was. It does change the game, but if only we could use it just to support us, in a positive way, then I think we'd be on a totally different path compared to where we're at with technology.
So, all right. So let's do this. So you got healthy, obviously. You're here, you're talking to me. So what did they find out? I mean, do you have to change your diet? Are you on certain, I mean, you don't have to answer this stuff if you don't want to, but are you on a certain diet? Are you on certain prescriptions, or what was the prognosis here?
So I'm happy to answer. I'm an open book.
Okay, cool.
The craziest part is, I went through, it was a ton of medications in the hospital. But after that, it's
intense rehab. And that was that. So for me, I took my first steps on my 29th birthday, which was probably the craziest part of the whole experience. So I happened to be in the hospital during my birthday, and that was when I took my first step again. But also after that, it was once I learned how to walk again, that's all I wanted to do. So I went from walking to jogging to running. I have not yet run an official marathon, but I have since run marathon distances. I feel like Forrest Gump. It's like, just because I'm not even kidding. It's like, just because I can, I do. And it's wild because I used to hate running. Sure. I was always, active physically and always in the gym and lifting, but running was never it for me. And since then it has become a form of therapy for me. So it's been really a pretty remarkable recovery process. No crazy long-term effects, except for just some back pain, sort of ghost faint back pain randomly, which is really just kind of like from the scarring on my spine. But other than that, I am, again, I would say, in peak physical health and condition. And the doctors and I are both all crossing our fingers, just hoping that it was a one-time occurrence.
Yeah. Do you know who Jordan and Michaela Peterson are?
I sure do.
Oh yeah. So Michaela actually, well, I guess Jordan a little bit too, but she actually had a rough go of like an autoimmune disorder, as you know, probably. And she has this, she's like, I think she actually had to get her ankle and hip replaced because of it. And now she eats like an all meat carnivore diet. And that's the main thing that's the reason I asked that, because that's the reason she's actually as healthy as she is now. And I think Jordan Peterson actually has to do it too. And that's what they found that actually supports them, and they are living healthy lives obviously right now. So they're just killing it. But
I did not know that. That's really interesting. I'll have to look more into it.
Yeah. So, I mean, it was just because it's weird just how these autoimmune disorders, I think theirs was kind of genetic too, but where yours is more of a rare case, as you said, but it's wild to me though.
It's a crazy, I mean, just any type of like random medical occurrence. It's just like how and why, and you just don't know, but you got to just roll with the cards that you're dealt. Exactly. And keep it moving and accept them and figure out how you're going to work with them in life.
Was that your goal though, to be able to run a marathon? Is that what you told yourself, that you're going to run a marathon? And
I definitely, not immediately in the hospital, but once I went through that, like pretty intense rehab process, they had me, I will never forget. I'm in the hospital because it's inpatient rehab, and I just had to walk the hallways, like up and down for extended stretches of time. Sure. And I remember in those moments thinking about how boring it was. I'm like, okay, I figured this out. I'm walking again. I'm doing this. Like, look at me going up and down the stairs. And from there, I was like, okay, if this is actually like the rehab process I'm going through, I can increase this tenfold, and I want to increase this tenfold. I don't want to be bored, so to speak, in my own rehabilitation. I want to see how far I can push my body now that I have sort of consciously went through this relearning how to walk. It's like not everyone gets that opportunity. And that's kind of how I saw it was, when we're babies, we don't realize the process of like one foot in front of the other, heel toe, falling, getting back up, like how wide or close your feet are. We just do it instinctively. And so I had to do this process now consciously, not as a small child. And it wasn't instinct. It was complete relearning how to train my muscles. So I guess all of that really just motivated me to see like, okay, I did this from step one. Let's see if I can go from one step to 26.2 miles.
I mean, I probably already know the answer to this one, but I mean, I would imagine that works well, obviously, with your counseling and, your motivational speaking, this whole story right here. I mean, just cause, I feel like, damn, she's a badass, just like, because I want to say, I've seen people, they get hurt or they get off their track of their goals or whatever. They instantly just go down a downward spiral, for better words. And then they don't want to get back up and try again just because like, oh, I'm just going to fail. There's no point in trying. There's no way to get out of this. And it's like, well, no, that's not the right mindset. There is, you just don't want it right now. You just got to want it.
And it's so funny that you say that. One of the things that I really took from counseling to sort of counsel myself through it, so to speak, and how I now use it in speaking mostly is I learned truly the power of reframing or even deframing my thoughts. And the best example that I have was in the hospital, I had literally every type of therapy possible, like coming to me to help me out. So I had physical therapy, occupational therapy, mental health therapy, art therapy, horticulture therapy. Like they sent everything my way, which was pretty cool. I got to experience them all, but cool. I remember speaking to one of them and they said, like, how are you feeling? Are you finding that you're feeling low or down or defeated or anything like that? I'm like, at the beginning, it's really difficult not to ask why me, but I very quickly realized that asking why me is totally giving up all of my power to the universe, whatever that might be. And I was like, it's such a defeating question because I'll never get the answer. Right. I might get the diagnosis, but I'm not going to get the answer to why. And so what I found out, and like, this is pretty common. A lot of people will say like, why not me? And for me, what I had used just naturally came to me and I was like, take it back, Brianna. And I was like, because me, this is happening because it's supposed to happen to me. That's the power that I have in it. I can take it back and reclaim it as my own and empower myself with it. Okay, now what? This has happened because it did. Now what? Rather than waiting for the answer to why, I was able to move past that question and then ask myself, okay, what's next? So really that reframing my mindset, my thoughts, and my power, reframing my mindset, my thoughts really helped me take back that power.
Yeah, I've been talking to a lot of people on here who are all about, your thoughts and what you're putting out there as far as what you're saying and not only, externally, but internally as well. And just that, so much goes into it. Last night I was talking with somebody, he actually talked about kind of what you said about universal law and just, saying these things. Basically the way he put it metaphorically was that, if you keep telling yourself you're weak, you're weak, you're weak, you're going to be weak, and your body's just going to do that. And rather than just, if you change that, even just the slightest word change, instead of saying, hey, I'm trying to get better. If you just say, hey, I'm going to get better, like your body and like, you said the universe is something happens. And, and I don't know if you're spiritual or religious and we don't have to go down that road, but and that's something I've been kind of like going back and forth too. And I'm kind of going on a rant here, but it's just like, when you say religion, okay, I get that. But is there something with this spirituality thing now? And is that really if you want to believe and, if you deserve it, the universe will serve it, if that's that stupid saying. And I don't know. I mean, I'm on the fence of it, like stuff like that. But, as far as manifestation and stuff like that, it's just like, well, I'm not completely no on this, but there's something to it, I think,
Well, the way that I can sort of really put it in psychology terms is beliefs, thoughts, beliefs, and actions.
Okay.
So what we think, if we think it enough times, it starts to become ingrained in us, becoming a belief. Once we have a belief in something, think of it as sort of like imprinting into your mind. A belief is a thought over and over and over again until it feels really real. So, and that is, scientifically based. So the fact that if we think something over and over and over again, if it's a negatively connotated thought that we continue to replay over and over and over again, it's not so much like really manifesting it out of the air. It's actually like we are imprinting on our mind this idea that starts to become real. A real world example that we can, for people to understand sort of what that looks like. Anyone who has ever been skiing or snowboarding or sledding even, that there's a mountain with fresh snow. But once you ski down the mountain or sled or snowboard down it, you make this imprint. If you do it enough, you start to really pack that snow in. If you do it for, that whole week or whatever it is, you start to see that is no longer in just a small imprint from a sled or a ski with powdery snow around it. It's a packed in path that's all the way down the mountain. So that's really how you can think about the thoughts turning into beliefs, is that you think it enough, you go down the mountain enough, down that same path, you're packing that snow in, you're making it solid in your brain. So that's kind of like the science behind the fact that if you do think something enough, it turns into a belief for you. And when something turns into a belief for any human being, it becomes a lot more salient in their lives and we start to act on it. So that's where the actions come from. Once we have that belief, we start to act on it. So if we're not telling ourselves the right things, we're going to start acting in the, accordingly.
Yeah, no, I agree 100% with that. That just makes perfect sense. I mean, obviously, if you keep going down the same road and keep staying positive and doing what you want to do, I mean, eventually it might be a long, hard snow down that hill or whatever, but eventually you'll get there. But is this kind of your own philosophy that you've developed? I mean, because I know you can't, like my brother's a counselor in higher education, and we talk a little bit about counseling and stuff. So I was wondering we don't really tell if you develop your own philosophies and stuff. I guess you kind of find out what works for you and what doesn't work and stuff, and like what kind of like cues and tips to tell people and help them out. Like you might have to talk to me like I'm 5 when it comes to that. But I mean, is that kind of just, I guess my question is, you just developed that on your own, I guess?
Yeah. So
books read, whatever.
For me, it's that is like pretty encompassing to one of my philosophies that I guess this has kind of become the mantra of my business, is buy into the possibility of you. And when I say that, we have to think about what a buy-in process is.
No.
We buy into something, we're putting almost seemingly a blind faith into something that we can't see, hoping that that thing sort of comes to fruition. But the buy-in process might feel like blind faith, but it's actually just being able to understand that we are capable of a lot more than we consciously realize right now.
Yeah.
So the buy-in process is saying that your possibility is there. It's just outside your realm of understanding right now. And that's okay, because to buy into the possibility of you is to know that even though you can't see it now, you have the capability to get there or to learn it or to become it. So the psychological term for that is self-efficacy. And we don't need to go down that road if you don't want, but but that is really what the term is. The term is an inherent belief in oneself, a belief in your capabilities. So we need to be able to recognize that we have blind spots. And even though we can't see our blind spots, because by definition, they are blind spots, we need to understand that possibly within those blind spots are actually so much more to us that we just haven't tapped into yet.
Yeah. You just had me thinking, when I was growing up and, talking about, I didn't really know what I was capable of growing up or really had an idea of. It was just more of just what everybody was telling me, kind of basing me of what I should do with my life, I guess. And I just kind of went with it just because I didn't really know any better, and it was always, this is the road you should take to be successful. This is what you need to do to have, money in your life and, work your 30 years and be done and retire. But, when I started, I guess, looking around and like listening to podcasts and reading more, this was after college too, by the way. I was an idiot in college and stuff, but I was actually like, okay, there's, I don't have to do what the status quo or the social norm is. I can, if I go outside the realm a little bit, I can find my own way and find out that I am capable of more. And I was just wondering if younger generations, if in your practice and stuff, if you find yourself with clients like that saying that, this is all I'm going to be meant to do. I'm good. I'll just go work it wherever and work my 30 years and go drink Mai Tais on the beach somewhere, hopefully.
So, you're actually speaking to what I would say most, if not all of the human population deals with at some point in their lives. There's kind of two things I want to respond to with that.
Do it.
The first is really exactly what you're saying was the reason why I loved being a middle school counselor, because I found that middle schoolers, that is one of the most major transitions of your adolescent life, other than from like birth to a year old, which I think is like the most transition, that stage from 11 to 14, where it's not only physical, but it's also psychological, emotional, a ton of growth. There's just so much happening in adolescent's life at that point, which means that they are so impressionable to what can change within them. So as they see all these changes happening, and as they're sort of at the cornerstone of changes happening in their life, as a counselor, it's also the place where you can catch them and say, you can do it, rather than them starting to believe and imprint that they can't do it. So that's one reason why I loved middle school counseling, is because that frame of mind is actually very, very real and very, very possible for most, if not all, human beings, if they don't have some type of influence telling them otherwise. So that moment in life was just to be with middle schoolers at that place in their life was something that kept me there for so long. The other piece that I wanted to respond to is that whether we believe it or not, and this is going to sound crazy, but the person that we talk to the most in this world is not our partner or spouse. It's not our children. It's not our colleagues or coworkers. It is ourselves. Ooh. And the fact that we don't always realize it. So much of what happens to us psychologically is taking place in our unconscious or our subconscious, AKA we are not aware to it. So, but we're constantly dialoguing with ourselves throughout the day.
Yeah.
And so this mindset that you were saying, like, do some people kind of just take it in, do their 30 years, go have Mai Tais on the beach? I mean, a lot of people will just have that dialogue with themselves and not have the dialogue that they can do more. Mm-hmm. And also, just as a side note, not that isn't the lifestyle for some people, because it's not that it's not enough
Right.
For some, I'm just giving an alternate perspective.
Sure.
But if you feel like that is not enough for you, but you don't have the dialogue with yourself to tell you that you want or deserve or can achieve more, and if you never had the models from counselors or teachers or adults in your life who told you and helped you imprint that in your brain that you can achieve more, then that's sort of like a default as humans. We'll default to what we think, is going to be sort of status quo for us, because pushing ourselves into discomfort is just uncomfortable. That's not a natural thing that we do. That's something that we need to be conditioned to do by, growing up by adults in our lives, or learning from different influences as we're adults, trying to teach ourselves that we can do more. We are capable of doing more. We just need to figure out how to do more. And that's going to be uncomfortable.
No, I hope I don't forget my thoughts on this as I start to talk, but, so what you said earlier, this, growing up, we didn't have middle school. I was really, really rural area, all farmlands, no stoplights and all that. But, I just remember talking with my counselor or high school counselor, and it was just, what college did you go into? And you had to write down 3, and it was kind of like, okay, that's it. See ya. And I was like, well, okay, whatever. But, I guess my point is that a lot of, especially, I feel like, so, you're talking about, the cards that you're dealt with. A lot of younger kids are not really dealt with a great set of cards. They're almost set up for failure coming out the womb. And they don't have these positive role models in their life. So meeting somebody like you, just even in middle school, like you're saying, they could interact with that with you, and just have that positive role model and say, okay, somebody does believe in me. Here's a chance I actually can, be positive and, go forward with my life and make something of it, rather than just, oh, well, I just hope I don't, go back to bed, hope I don't end up in jail or whatever. And, and that makes a spark in people's lives. And I don't know if that's missing out of a lot of people's lives nowadays or what, but some part of it, I feel like it is.
Yeah. You're speaking on something that's so powerful, and it's like, you wish that there was just like every child, they're born innocent, but unfortunately that, life happens, and that's not always, we don't stay innocent, and that's innocent minds and whatever it might be, we, something that I tell my clients a lot is that we are the fabric of our being, meaning that from the moment, even prior to even being in the womb, there's a lot of studies that you can be influenced even in the womb. There's different biological things that can happen. But from the moment that you're born, you are intaking so many, millions upon millions of interactions with the world. And, if we keep it as simple as possible, those interactions might feel positive for you, or they might feel negative for you.
Sure.
But if each interaction is a thread of the fabric of your being, and you kind of weigh the scale, and as that fabric starts to build, that starts to be who you become, because each interaction or thought or moment or experience influences us.
Sure.
So we're moment to moment to moment building this life influence, a lot of it out of our control, especially when we're children. And that is essentially who we become, is this influence of all these interactions. So, when you think about life in that way, as like these millions of moments compiling to be the person that you are, it's like, we wish we could, for all the kids in the world who might be set up for failure, it's like, you wish you could give them more positive interactions and positive experiences and positive words of encouragement. And, it's just not the case, but there are those many of those who use the negative interactions as their strength. And that's something that you start to develop when you get older. So it can feel really detrimental and difficult when you're a kid, but when you start to reflect and look back, and if you do start to dialogue and ask those questions with yourself, you start to realize that all of those really difficult moments actually are the strength that you need to step into that discomfort that we spoke on.
Yeah, I agree 100% with you. I wish that all people could have, positive interactions in daily life all day long. But, a part of what makes people is these negative interactions. And how do you respond to them, I guess? And these humbling experiences is maybe what I'm trying to say. And that, some people, I guess, for me, I think they work. I needed to learn, how to lose and, one of my basketball games or get rejected by the girl or whatever. It sucks. I mean, yeah, it sucks, but part of that is like, all right, so what am I going to do? Am I going to learn from these mistakes? Am I going to turn this into a positive, kind of what you said? But, it makes a person, I don't know, I don't want to say balance, but know that, I guess the difference between confidence and arrogance almost. And they use these, and like you say, learning these possibilities or learning from these experiences, they can make hopefully their life better as they go down the road and they come to this other fork in the road. Like, all right, how am I going to interact on this one? Am I going to go a different way this time and hope for a better outcome, or I got to, learn again? But yeah, I mean, and I'm not, I don't advocate for negative experiences, but yeah, those humbling experiences are great to have, even though some of them suck and you want to just go sitting on your couch and cry, but watch sad movies. But yeah, that's
they're never easy. No one ever wants them. We don't want to step into them either, which is like this vulnerability piece, the stepping into the discomfort. Like no one asks for them. Exactly. But the crazy part is it's like the paradox of life. I believe I'm using that word correctly. Like
okay.
that, the thing that we don't want at all is actually the thing that is going to push us forward. Mm-hmm. The thing that we try to avoid at all costs, this vulnerability, this discomfort, this just like really, sad, maybe low, maybe discouraged place, is the very thing that brings us sort of to the 2.0 version of ourselves.
Ooh, the 2.0 version. I like that. When you were in the hospital, I would assume, I know the answer to this, but I guess you were pretty vulnerable at that time.
Oh yeah. Yes, I sure was. That was probably the most vulnerable experience I've ever had. The most vulnerable place I've ever been. I'm sorry.
I said I would think so, just because, I've been very fortunate in my life, besides just a few broken bones, but I never had to go through anything like that. But yeah, just being that vulnerable and not having anybody to, besides, just somebody through a screen to come and interact with you would just be, I don't know, it's just a little heartbreaking when I think about it, especially in being in a big city. You were in New York City at the time, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I don't know really what to say with that, but I mean, I guess again, I just applaud you for being like what we've been talking about, just saying, all right, I'm going to pull out of this and I'll be fine.
That's it. And it's like, again, we don't ask for these experiences, and often we won't put ourselves in those situations if life doesn't push us there.
Sure.
And so if that experience for me, like, let me tell you, one, I had never experienced anything like it. Same with what you were saying. Like it was just a couple broken bones. Like the only surgery I ever had was my tonsils removed. so it's like, nothing major had ever happened. And I thought I was doing everything correct. I was a bill of health, I would have said, but life is a funny way of showing you what you're made of, showing you what strengths you hold, and showing you the parts of you that you never thought even existed. That's the possibility of you being shown like a mirror, life holding a mirror up to you and saying, this is actually what you're made of. And you never knew you had it in you.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I'm just loving your mindset from it, just because, I just, like I said earlier, just a lot of people I feel like would just, and I'm generally speaking, of course, would just break down from it and not have the strength to pick themselves up. But maybe I'm being too negative on people, but for the most part, generally, I think a lot of people would just lay down, but I would hope not. But
yeah, no, I honestly don't think you're being too negative.
Okay, good.
Like I said, it's an unnatural inclination for us to step outside of our comfort zone. It just is. So when we're put into discomfort, for a lot of people, it might be to cower away, especially if it is unwanted, if we didn't expect it or plan for it at all, and it's totally unexpected. A lot of people might curl up. It's it can be traumatic, and that's, definitely another space, for sure. Something that we talk about a lot in the counseling community, but that trauma for sure, if it feels traumatic for someone, can really push a person into a dark space as well. So, lots of different ways that people could react to something like that. But, I feel blessed that I was able to somehow sort of pull that mindset out of myself and bounce back and sort of take that power. But again, I don't believe that my reaction or how I got through it was natural. And I not that I don't believe in people, but I know that there are plenty of other ways that people might have reacted to such a situation.
I have this theory. Well, it's probably not my theory. I probably stole it from somebody or heard it from somewhere, but I'm sure I did. But basically it's talking about how you should challenge yourself and that's one of the keys of longevity, that if you challenge yourself and you try to do something hard, not every day, and that keeps your mind going and keeps your body going. And then, gives you these little brownie points, I guess, to say that, ooh, I can actually do this, and I can keep doing, making myself better, like getting out of your comfort zone. And I'm not saying, go run a marathon similar to what you did if you never ran one before, but, go run a 5K, go run a mile or whatever and start there. But, you do these little challenges every day and you learn about yourself and you learn that you can take on the world and take on hard things. And it seems to make daily life a little bit easier, in my opinion. It's just somebody cuts you off, the waiter gets your order wrong, it's okay, no big deal. But I mean, that's what I've learned. I'm one of these CrossFit guys, and I love breaking down my body mentally and physically, and then when I'm done, I feel completely better, and it's just like, that was tough, but I made it through it, and then I go through life and I'm good.
What you're saying, and like using the CrossFit example, I think that physical activity is the best metaphor for how we should go about and sort of approach everything in life, because physical activity, there are so many parallels.
Sure.
You go to the gym every day, whether it be CrossFit or you're going, to your home gym, whatever it is, and you do this hard thing, you push yourself outside of your comfort zone, you do a hard thing, and then you don't see results as you're doing the hard thing. And you're like, why am I not seeing the results? I'm doing the hard thing, but why are the results not coming immediately? Because we like that, again, human nature, we like and look for instant gratification. It's something, it goes with that comfort, that gratification is comforting. So when you go there and you don't see that the 100, burpees that you just did made any type of difference in your physical appearance in that moment, we can go two ways. We can shut down because we don't think it's working, or we can keep trying because we think that it might take a little bit more consistent effort. Mm-hmm. And if you keep doing those 100 burpees, I'm not a burpee person also.
I mean, either. I hate them.
Hate them. But if you keep doing whatever it is in the gym that you do over and over and over again, very small, very incremental results start taking place after 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks. After 3 months, that's kind of the sweet spot for any place of change, which a lot of people don't really realize. But this is actually mental and physical.
Sure.
Like you'll really start to see those results. The same goes for meditation. A lot of people are just don't like meditation, feel like it doesn't work, will sit and try to do it and say, this makes no sense to me. I don't like this process and it's not working for me. And then you have to ask them, did you try it for 3 months? Did you even try it for a month? You know what I mean? Because it's a skill, and a skill needs to be practiced. And same, if you go back to school and learning, you don't learn how to write a paper. You learn how to write a word and then a sentence and then a paragraph and then several paragraphs and then a paper. Yeah. So that incremental growth and that the metaphor of going to the gym is so pertinent for so many other spaces in life and pushing outside of our comfort zone, that we need to trust the process. We need to hold on to that consistency. And we need to play the long game.
Exactly. I mean, I couldn't agree 100% more. It's just everybody wants a shortcut or, go back to the matrix and take the red pill or blue pill
Yeah.
and whatever it is and just instantly have your results. And it doesn't work like that, and obviously you just said it's long-term investments, even though you don't see anything in a week or 2 weeks, but a couple months, you might start to see a little definition in your arms or whatever. But, going back to Jordan Peterson and using that analogy, kind of like what you were saying, though, one thing I'm learning right now is try to be more articulate especially when doing these podcasts. And just because what Jordan Peterson says, you're a dangerous, badass person if you can be articulate, with writing, speaking, and just thinking. And, and do I meditate? No, but that's one thing I've also tried to incorporate more in my life, but I've maybe once or twice a week. But I am trying to learn or not learn, but actually get in the habit of, journal more and like what I just say, like write a little bit more, then, get my thoughts, when I actually lay them out. And then like, if I can think about it here, write it out here, when I come on here and be able to speak them out, have my thoughts kind of lined up better. I won't just be all over the place and it's just what you said. I've had bad podcasts, of course, and it happens, but ultimately when I get off here, I want both parties to be like, oh, walk away, feel good about themselves. But does it also always happen? No, but for the most part, I think they do pretty well. But yeah, just one thing, there's little changes like that can just help change the game, as you just said earlier, and just make a world of difference, even though it sucks at first. But again, it sucks because you're like, it's a new habit. You don't want to do it. You'd rather go watch Netflix, or I would anyway. And, but if you get in the habit and they start to pay off and you start to notice these little gains and these little differences, like, might be something to this now. I'll just you get a little win, you keep doing it. So
that's it. And it's like, I know again, like, well, first of all, journaling is super powerful as well. So kudos to you, because journaling, like the scientific benefits of journaling, like there's so many studies that the way that it can increase your happiness as a person and just your functioning overall well-being as a human being are insane. So I won't rattle off the statistics, but if you're interested, look them up. Maybe you'll start journaling just because there's so much power in those numbers.
Yes.
But, kind of to cap it off, like, again, going back to the gym example, if you took a day one photo and then a 30-day photo, a 60-day photo, or if you've been at it for years and years, you'll find that not only did those incremental pieces sort of pay off, but you're an entirely new person. You've completely transformed your body structure. You've completely transformed who you once were. So, it's just, we can't always see what's actually happening before us or within us.
Yeah. And sometimes when I get on here, I feel like I make things easier said than done. But I think it's a lot of this discipline, and I'm at the gym 6 days a week, and, and it's like, as far as like, I've had bad days, and I get down there and I work out and I pick up, some weight and throw it around. I feel a lot better at the end of it. And I need that. And I've learned that. And I'm not saying you have to go work out or go run or whatever, but I think people, if you're not happy, obviously you need to find whatever that is to make you happy and, do that. And I feel like, with media sometimes, and mainstream media, of course, I feel like some people make you believe that you have to be like, hey, I'm at an 8 all day, and then when I get home, I'm a 10 because I am home. But, it's not like that, because, I don't know if it's because of so much information that we gather now. And, I don't know if it's more, there's a new world event every other month now. And it seems that there's just so many problems that keep it going. And I don't know if our modern brains are equipped to handle that, and that there's ways to, whether it be meditation or journaling, there is ways to get that out externally in some way, then reset your batteries and go back to neutral. And then it's all right, we can restart again. But I've always found it like, with some people, then this might be a little bit too much of a rant, but some people are like, oh, I don't have any problems, I'm great all day, and it's like, no, that's, and if you are, that's great. And I feel great for you, but I don't believe that's just it can be done. And I hope it's done, but I don't see it.
I would argue that not having any problems is in fact a big problem.
I like that.
I'm just thinking about it, and it's like, we're human beings. As human beings, we are flawed. We just are. So if you kind of are under your own umbrella and perception that you don't have any problems, the problem probably is your blind spots.
Sure.
The problem is that you actually just don't see that, that's not where you're at. And again, this is not to say that people cannot be self-actualized, meaning like the best versions of themselves, sort of like the best humanly possible piece of, how whoever they can be. But it's the fact that self-actualization, which is like it's a term in psychology, but it's really more of like a guiding star. Ooh. And not a distant shore. Like it's not actually a destination. It's more of an incremental growth process to become the best version of yourself moment to moment to moment. But there's no like peak where we become it and then stop. Yeah. So that's I guess where I'm getting at is like anyone who thinks that they are just like in the, always happy, no problems, no anything. It's not a real reality.
Yeah. Just, and I can't say I really know anybody like that, but I've heard people other people tell me that, old Jim over there, he never has any issues. He's happy all day long. And I was like, is he hiding that? I mean, like Anthony Bourdain, like nobody really thought anything, and we don't have to go down this road, but nobody thought anything of him. Like, I think it was a girl that kind of messed him up. I could be wrong on that though. But yeah, but he had some dark issues going on. And I've heard stories of where when he would start drinking and stuff, he would just take it to extremes. And, but other than that, there was really no signs of saying that, oh, he's good, let him go do his thing. Let him go do his TV show. But it's, things like that are kind of, I don't know what the word I'm looking for is, but it's kind of like you just said, like, I don't know if that's really true or not. It's just, is that fake or is that authentic?
And I think one of the maybe misconceptions is that when we see as humans, when we see happy people, we might make the assumption that nothing's going wrong in their lives. But it's also possible to sort of, act happy or even be happy as well as be sad. And I think that we sort of function in this society where it's, this or that, where it can be this and that. It's actually very possible to experience happiness, maybe even extreme happiness with extreme, sadness or extreme loneliness, or, it's possible to sort of have both of them or be in fluctuation of both. And it's also, pretty natural of human beings to put on an act of how they believe that they're supposed to act. So sure. All of us around are like, how are they at an 8 out of 10, 9 out of 10, 10 out of 10 all day long? Huh? But, we don't see what the other part of that is.
Yeah. Just to touch on that, growing up for me, it was never really, as far as expressing feelings and stuff, it wasn't just because it was obviously came from a really masculine household or anything like that, but it was just more of, why do you feel that way? I was like, well, I mean, I don't really know why I feel this way, but that's just how I'm feeling. It was just, I don't know, to try to beat my parents, I guess, talk it out, but it really didn't happen. And so then there's like, I kind of shut those feelings down. And when I would get these feelings, I just kind of repress them down in my stomach and just like, and it was like almost scared to show anything. But now, yeah. And like now, I don't know if it's just me doing these podcasts or reading more books or learning more, that it's okay to actually show your feelings. And if you're sad, you're sad. And, I'm not saying I'm going to go bawl and cry in front of a bunch of other people, which, I was listening to a podcast the other day, and basically the gist of it was they were talking about their families. It was two comedians and how that, they're away from their daughters all the time, and they were kind of drinking a little bit, and the guys, they started tearing up a little bit. And because the guy was like, does it get any better? Because he was asking for advice. And the other guy was like, no. And they almost started bawling. And I was in my office. I was like, shit, and like, I don't even have kids, and I'm sitting here feeling for him too. And I was like, but I guess my whole point is that, it's okay to actually not have to act happy all the time. That's okay. Just like, if you're in a bad mood, you're in a bad mood. That's fine. If you're sad about something, okay. If you want somebody to talk to, I'm here. But if not, I can be here. If you're just not ready. Yeah, that's one thing I've learned.
I love that. It is so okay to not be okay.
There you go.
I'm going to bring this full circle one more time.
Do it.
Showing that we're not okay puts us in a place of discomfort. It puts us in a place that we don't want to be. It puts us in a place that makes us feel scared and vulnerable and unwilling to want to push ourselves. But when you sort of delayer that and take off that blindfold, and you realize it's okay to publicly, or, at least amongst others, to not be okay and to not have to display this constant state of bliss or happiness, you open the door for others to be more real and authentic around you too. That's what it is. Not being okay more publicly to others is you being a real, authentic human being. But for whatever reason, humans are hardwired to really push that away because it feels too scary for us. But again, it opens up the door for really cool possibilities for humans to have better connection, to be more real and authentic with others. But you got to be willing to step into that discomfort.
Bri, I think we should take it home on that. You're a badass person right there.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. If you want to plug all your stuff right now, feel free to do that. And if people want to find you and all that good stuff, let them know.
I appreciate it. So if you want to find me, all of my social medias are at Bri, that's BRI _ undeniably, UNDENIABLY. My website is briundeniably.com. You can find me on YouTube, LinkedIn, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, Facebook. Trying to cover them all. I definitely have some type of presence on all of them, but definitely check out my website. If you are interested in me doing any type of speaking or workshops with you or a team or at a conference, I would be happy to. We can talk about that. I do coaching. I do some counseling work still. So all those things, please check it out, briundeniably.com. And it has been such a pleasure. Thank you so much.
No, thank you. Thank you. This was badass. So, but yeah, if you don't have anything else, we can just call it right there. So
amazing. All right.
Cool. All right, everybody, we're out of here. Be good to yourselves.